Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
And really focusing in on his ideas about assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you get the sneak peek into, like, what do the wealthy teach their kids about money? What are the secrets that they're passing down?
Exactly. And that's what Kiyosaki tries to lay out in this book. And he does it by comparing the advice that he got from his own father, who was a highly educated man, but actually struggled financially.
Okay.
And contrasting that with the wisdom that he got from his rich dad figure, who was a successful entrepreneur.
So almost like two different money mentors battling it out.
Exactly right.
In his own mind.
Two different mindsets about money.
Yeah. And then he kind of like throws out the traditional definition of assets.
Yeah.
Like what your accountant might tell you.
Right.
What is an asset?
Kiyosaki really throws that out the window. It's like, forget what you think you know about assets.
Right.
You know, forget the accounting definition this is all about. Does it put money in your pocket or take money out of your pocket?
I like that.
And that's his real litmus test.
Yeah. And he even says, you know, people think a house is an asset.
Right.
But is it really?
And he uses that as the example.
Yeah.
Because if you're paying a mortgage every month, if you've got property taxes, if you're constantly shelling out money for repairs, is it really putting money in your pocket?
It's actually a liability in a way.
It's a liability.
Yeah.
It's taking money out of your pocket.
Unless you're renting it out.
Exactly. Unless it's generating income for you.
Yeah.
It's not an asset. And that's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
Because so many people think of, you know, a fancy car or a big house as an asset.
Status symbols.
Yeah. And they look like assets. They might impress your friends.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're sucking money out of your pocket.
It's like he's giving you X-ray vision into your finances.
Exactly.
To see like, okay, what is really going on here?
What's the reality of the situation?
And that kind of leads into his cash flow quadrant idea.
Right.
Where he says, okay, there are these 4 quadrants. There are employees, there are the self-employed, there are business owners, and then there are investors.
Right. And he uses that to illustrate, where is your income coming from?
Yeah.
How are you actually making money in the world?
Yeah. And he gives that great example of the 2 guys who are hauling water.
Oh, yeah. Ed and Bill.
Yeah. Ed's like breaking his back, carrying these buckets of water. And Bill's like, I'm going to build a pipeline.
Bill builds a system.
Yeah. And like, let the water flow through.
He's working smarter, not harder.
And that's the whole point. You want to move from that, you know, employee or self-employed, where you're trading time for money, to the business owner or investor quadrant.
Exactly.
Where you're really building something that can work for you.
You're building a system that generates wealth.
But that's not easy, right?
No, it's not always easy.
And he talks about how fear and laziness often hold people back.
Right. He says fear is a big one.
Yeah. And he even uses this analogy of a 98-pound weakling to show, like, if you're not paying yourself first, you're going to stay weak.
Financially and mentally weak?
Right.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
And then there's that story about Richard who missed out on a real estate deal because he listened to his neighbor's doubts instead of trusting his own analysis.
Yeah.
Classic example of fear paralyzing us.
Yeah. So how do we get over that fear? How do we develop that financial intelligence he keeps talking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a key part of Kiyosaki's message.
Okay.
Financial intelligence, it's not just about knowing numbers or being good at math.
So it's more than just being able to balance your checkbook.
Exactly. It's about understanding how money works.
Okay.
How to make it work for you and how to identify opportunities.
Like that mechanic who could tell what was wrong with a car just by listening to it.
Yeah, he uses that story to illustrate the point that talent alone isn't enough.
Right.
You need financial intelligence to leverage that talent.
Yeah, and to really be successful.
You got to know how to make your money work for you, not the other way around.
Okay, so then we're not just taking.
Right.
He also talks about the importance of giving.
Yeah. He believes strongly in giving back.
Okay.
Both financially and in terms of knowledge.
Like that analogy he uses of the guy who won't put wood in the stove.
Right. Until it gives him heat.
Yeah, you got to give first to receive.
Exactly. And it's not about giving just to get something in return.
Right.
It's about giving from a place of abundance.
Right, because you want to be part of that cycle of prosperity.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's about contributing to a larger ecosystem of wealth and success.
Okay, so now we're like really starting to get into some of the meat of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, but we've got a lot more to cover.
There's so much more to explore in this book.
So stick with us.
We'll be right back after the break. And it's about recognizing that financial success isn't just about taking. It's about contributing to a larger ecosystem of prosperity. Now, of course, Kiyosaki has his critics.
Yeah.
Some people call him a guru or say he oversimplifies things.
Right. You can't talk about rich dad, poor dad without acknowledging, like, the controversy around it.
For sure. But I think what's undeniable is that he's really sparked this conversation about financial literacy.
Yeah, he's gotten people thinking about it.
He's challenging that traditional path of get a good job, work for 40 years.
Right.
Hope for the best in retirement.
And how would we have enough?
And he's like, wait a minute, maybe there's another way.
Exactly.
And his writing style. I mean, It's very direct. It's accessible. I wouldn't call it simplistic, though.
No, I agree.
He's dealing with some complex ideas.
Yeah, he breaks them down into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, and he doesn't shy away from those tough topics either.
Right.
Like when he talks about the rat race.
The rat race. You know that idea that you earn more, you spend more, you're kind of trapped.
Yeah, you're constantly chasing that next paycheck.
Yeah, you're not really getting in.
And you're accumulating more and more liability.
Right. You're buying those bigger houses.
Yeah.
Those fancier cars.
Those things that are taking money out of your pocket.
Yeah, it's like that classic example he uses of the couple who gets a raise.
Right.
And they're like, oh, great, let's upgrade our lifestyle.
Let's go bigger.
And suddenly they're like drowning in debt.
Yeah, they're house poor. They've got car payments up the wazoo.
And they look successful on the surface.
Right.
But underneath, it's all crumbling.
Their financial foundation is shaky.
Yeah, so it's about building that asset column.
That's what Kiyosaki is all about.
Things that are going to work for you,
right,
not against you.
Generating income even while you sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And he also talks about fear of public speaking.
Yeah, that's an interesting connection.
How does that tie into personal finance?
Well, he argues that this same fear that keeps people from speaking up, it also prevents them from finding new solutions to their money problems.
Interesting.
They'd rather stick to the familiar path, even if it's not leading them where they want to go.
Like it's safer to just follow the crowd.
Exactly.
Even if the crowd is heading in the wrong direction.
Right, they're afraid to stand out to be different.
Makes me think of that story he tells about starting a comic book library as a kid.
Oh, yeah, with his friend Mike.
Like they saw a need and they filled it.
And they made some money in the process.
Yeah, even though they didn't have a lot to start with.
Right, they were resourceful.
So it's about being entrepreneurial.
That's the key.
Yeah, and taking action.
Don't just sit around waiting for something to happen.
Make it happen.
Exactly.
But it's okay to make mistakes along the way, right?
He actually encourages it.
He does.
He sees mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow.
So you're not going to get it perfect the first time.
No one does.
But you learn from those mistakes and you keep going.
You get back up and you try again.
And then he gets into some of the more technical stuff like corporations and how the wealthy use them.
This is where it gets a little more advanced.
Yeah, but it's important stuff to understand if you want to play at a higher level.
Exactly.
He talks about how corporations offer certain tax advantages and asset protection that regular folks don't always have access to.
It's like playing the game with a different set of rules.
And he even gets into the history of taxes.
Which I found fascinating.
Yeah, he challenges some of those common assumptions about how taxes work and who they benefit.
He wants you to understand the system so you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, not be a victim of it.
Exactly.
And that's where his cash flow game comes in, right?
The cash flow game is a brilliant tool.
Yeah, for putting those principles into practice.
Right, it simulates real-life financial decisions.
It's like a financial boot camp.
But instead of push-ups and squats, you're buying assets and making deals.
I love that he tells that story about the woman who got upset during a cash flow workshop.
Oh yeah, she didn't get the point of playing a game.
She was like, this is stupid.
She wanted a quick fix.
Yeah, but Kiyosaki's all about the long game.
Developing your financial IQ.
And building those good habits.
Exactly.
And the game is great for revealing your money habits.
How you react under pressure.
Yeah, how do you make decisions when the stakes are high?
And it's not just about theory.
Right.
The people who excel in the cash flow game are often the ones who are good with numbers.
Yeah, those creative financial minds.
Ones who can spot opportunities.
And come up with innovative solutions.
That's the key.
And he's a big believer in learning from the best, too, right?
Absolutely.
Like finding mentors and seeking out expert advice.
He tells that story about how he learned about tax lien certificates from a government employee.
Yeah, who was investing in them himself.
It's about tapping into the knowledge of those who have already achieved what you're aiming for.
Yeah, find those people who are a few steps ahead of you.
And learn from their experiences.
And don't underestimate the power of sales and marketing skills either.
Right, no matter what field you're in, those skills are essential.
Like being able to communicate, effectively build relationships, persuade others.
He even tells that story about the author who was struggling to sell her books.
Yeah.
And he suggested she take a sales course.
What?
And she was offended at first.
I can imagine.
But his point was that being a great writer is different from being a best-selling author.
Right.
To achieve that level of success, you need to be able to market yourself and your work effectively.
So it's about packaging your brilliance.
Exactly.
In a way that resonates with the market.
That's the key.
And speaking of stepping outside your comfort zone, Kiyosaki is all about overcoming fear and taking calculated risks.
Right. He's not afraid to take chances.
I love that story he tells about how his rich dad used to say, "Remember the Alamo."
Before going into a big business deal?
Yeah, it's a reminder that failure is part of the process.
You can't let fear paralyze you.
You're going to have setbacks.
You're going to make mistakes.
But you learn from them, and you keep moving forward.
That's the only way to succeed. And remember, Kiyosaki makes a distinction between working hard and working smart. He argues that many people confuse the two. They put in long hours and lots of effort, but they're not working in a way that builds lasting wealth.
Like they're just spinning their wheels.
Exactly. He gives that example of the young couple working tirelessly to pay their bills, but neglecting to invest in assets that could generate passive income. It's like they're running on a treadmill.
They're working hard, but they're not getting anywhere financially.
Right, and he often compares it to the difference between walking and flying. Both can get you to your destination, but one is far more efficient and gets you there much faster. Working smart is about leveraging your time, your energy, your resources to create a system that works for you, not against you.
Okay, so it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
And he also talks about the importance of minding your own business, which doesn't necessarily mean starting a company, right?
No, it's more about focusing on building your asset column. That foundation of income-generating assets that can support you financially. Kiyosaki argues that most people spend their lives working for someone else's business. Their employers, the banks, the governments, instead of building their own financial empire.
So it's about taking ownership of your financial future.
Right.
And that leads us to another interesting point he makes. The difference between buying luxuries first and buying them last.
Ah, yes. The poor and middle class often buy luxuries on credit to create the illusion of wealth. They want to look rich, but they end up digging themselves deeper into debt. The rich, on the other hand, build their asset column first, and then use the income generated from those assets to buy luxuries.
So it's not about denying yourself nice things.
Well, not at all.
It's about building a solid financial base first.
Exactly.
So you can enjoy those things without the stress of debt.
It's about having the freedom to choose how you spend your money.
And that ties into one of his most powerful concepts, the idea of wealth as financial survivability.
Right. He defines that as the number of days you could survive if you stopped working today.
Wow, that's a really interesting way to think about it.
It is. It's a much more tangible way to measure your financial progress than just looking at your net worth.
So it's not just about how much money you have.
No, it's about how long you could survive without relying on a paycheck.
So how do we increase our financial survivability?
Well, he encourages readers to develop multiple streams of income.
Okay, so not just relying on one job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Find a side hustle. Learn a new skill that you can monetize. Join a network marketing company to develop your sales skills. It's about diversifying your income sources and creating a more robust financial foundation.
And he also talks about the importance of being observant and finding opportunities that others might miss.
Like his friend who bought a rundown house and discovered it came with 4 extra empty lots.
What?
Yeah. He tore down the house, sold the lots, and made a killing.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a great example of how being resourceful and thinking outside the box can lead to unexpected financial rewards.
So it's about training your mind to see possibilities where others see problems.
Exactly.
And it all comes back to developing that financial intelligence.
Right. Having the knowledge and the awareness to spot those opportunities.
And then having the courage to take action.
That's key. And that requires overcoming laziness, which he describes as a form of fear. He argues that people often stay busy to avoid confronting their fears and insecurities, especially when it comes to money.
So it's like we're using busyness as a shield.
In a way, yes.
To protect ourselves from those uncomfortable feelings.
Exactly.
And to combat that, Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of paying yourself first.
Even if you're short on money.
Yeah, he says it forces you to get creative and find ways to generate more income.
It's a powerful mindset shift.
From scarcity to abundance.
Exactly.
And he also talks about the importance of overcoming arrogance and being open to learning from others.
Right. Find mentors, attend seminars, constantly expand your knowledge.
It's about recognizing that you don't have all the answers.
And being willing to learn from those who are more experienced or knowledgeable than you.
So true. And he stresses the importance of teaching and giving back as well.
He tells that story about how his rich dad always tithed even when he was short on money.
It's about contributing to a cycle of abundance.
Exactly.
And helping others achieve their goals.
And ultimately, Kiyosaki leaves readers with a powerful call to action. Change your thinking if you want to change your financial future. Start small. Practice the principles he outlines. Learn from your mistakes.
Money is just a tool.
It's a representation of value.
And true wealth comes from developing your financial intelligence, mastering your money mindset, and using your resources to create a life of freedom and abundance.
He challenges us to think big, find heroes who inspire us, and never stop learning and growing.
Break free from those limiting beliefs.
And embrace the possibilities.
So if you're ready to escape the rat race and chart your own course towards financial independence, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is definitely worth exploring.
It's a book that challenges conventional wisdom, sparks your entrepreneurial spirit, and gives you a framework for building lasting wealth.
It's a journey that requires a shift in mindset, a commitment to lifelong learning, and the courage to take action.
But the rewards are well worth the effort.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep building that asset column.
And never underestimate the power of generosity and giving back.
Because true wealth isn't just about what you accumulate.
It's about the positive impact you have on the world.
That's it for our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.